This is a step-by-step on how to install temperature control on an eVault Max. Step 1. Turn off main breaker. Step 2. Remove the sides. Just this side and that side, not the front or the back. Leave those on.
I use RV tank water heater pads because they have a thermostat built into them, and you can use the battery voltage coming off of the battery with the DC to DC converter. It's very simple. The next step is to drill a hole around about 3/8 of an inch and install a grommet in the very bottom so that you can have your water tank heater on the bottom. The next step is to install the heater pads directly on the inside with the wires facing up on this panel and that panel. In the one underneath, you will run the wires up through here. Make sure not to drill the hole too far that way because you will run into the heater pad. You want it this way, but not run into the caster assembly. The way that I drill the 3/8 inch hole through the bottom is with a right angle drill on a small extender. This is supposed to be a 3/8 inch, by the way, bit. The next step is to run all your wires and make sure that it's as far away as possible from the factory wiring. I ran that wire directly across the front and zip tied it on either side so it's very far from anything inside. I recommend combining all the wires with a Wago type connector and then zip tying the bundle of wires all together so that if any of them come out, but for whatever reason, they are in a bundle. And then zip tie all of your wires to where they're not touching other wires that are in the housing. And I like to run this gray wire up to the top. And then that gray wire comes up through here and more Wago connectors connecting to the 12-volt output of this DC to DC converter. And then for the other leg is the 48-volt in, and that goes to a breaker here that then gets hooked to the terminals. This is the 3/8 ring terminal that I like to use. It's made for 12 gauge wire. Regardless of what you do, these bus bars are live, so be aware of that. Once it's all installed, you can turn on this breaker, and then before you turn on this breaker, take a look at the main screen by tapping it, and you can see that there are 0 amps going through it right now. And I will turn on the DC to DC converter, and you can see one of the heat mats is now running. They are 65 watts a piece, and so you can see exactly how many are running. There are 2 Fortress Power E-Flexes in here that I'm replacing right now. They still work fine. The client just needed more capacity. I will show you. This is the insulated enclosure that keeps them at a stable temperature year-round. Inside the wooden lid, I have styrofoam insulation. So I use the same kind of temperature control heat mats. 65 watts a piece. This is the thermostat right there, built in. So all you have to do is supply it with 12-volt power, and it'll keep the batteries just above 10 degrees Celsius, which is the warranty period that you need to maintain. It's kind of a big deal when you put these in a garage. So straight off of the battery terminals to a fusible disconnect. I prefer to use breakers now just because they're easier to reset. I have yet to have any trip on me. And then from the fusible disconnect, I have a DC to DC converter, 48 volt input, 12 volt output, and more Wagos. A very basic system, but gets the job done very nicely.
And this is what it looks like when the heat mats are installed and it's put back together. Now I want to point out this one sticker that you don't want to open the enclosure or it will void the product warranty.